What's up, guys? This is Tai Zen and Leon Fu, and we're excited to have with us here today Aaron. He is one of the most popular and prolific Nextcoin ambassadors on Bitcoin Talk and on all the Nextcoin forums. You know, in Bitcoin, there's always that concern of the 51% attack. How is Next addressing that issue? Because a lot of people say that it will require a 90% or more to take over the network or the system.
You know, you're not going to like my answer to that.
Okay.
I don't believe it is 51% resistant. Maybe, but I haven't. You know, it seems sort of like it's violating a law of physics, or maybe a law of cryptocurrency. And in order to do something like that, I think you would need a really strong argument for why you could do it. And I haven't seen a really strong argument. But I've seen anecdotes, you know.
Now, are you talking about Bitcoin or are you talking about Next?
All cryptocurrencies. If somebody gets, 51% of the consensus process, right, then they're going to be able to outpace the network. I mean,
and
I guess in theory you could. I guess the idea with Next is that you could fork, right, and then the guy on the chain with it's doing 51%, right? He would just be, his stake would be erased on the new fork, and then everyone else would kind of recognize which of the two forks was the one that they wanted to go with, right? Based on evidence, I guess. The thing is, it would be difficult to really say conclusively if someone who had 51% was trying to be malicious.
Actually, I think someone had successfully done a 51% attack on one of the altcoins. It was, I think it was a TerraCoin or one of these smaller coins, and it was also SHA based, right? So they could point their ASICs at one of these altcoins and overwhelm the network. And what they did was they did a double spend and they attacked one of the exchanges. Like they double spent their coins, sent those coins to an exchange, traded it for bitcoins, took the bitcoins out, and then reversed the transaction, right? So basically they ripped off the exchange. That's what happened, you know. And I think it was in TerraCoin. I think WorldCoin also got attacked that way somehow, but not successfully. But I think there was a successful attack in I don't remember which coin it was. It was like TerraCoin or something like that. One of the smaller ones.
But based on my understanding, though, it's these 51% attacks only happen because the size of the entire network was very small.
Yes.
You're not
yes,
going to
it was small.
You're not going to be able to do that with something like Bitcoin because if you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that even if you had 51% hashing power and you were able to run ahead of the network, that only gives you an opportunity. You still have to go by the lotto system where there's no guarantee that you are going to mine the next block in Bitcoin or forge the next block in Next. Is that correct?
The further you go into the future, the more statistically likely it is that your chain is going to be longer than the honest chain. So if you have 51%, you just have to keep mining long enough until the statistical variance is eliminated, right? Just like if you do some sort of poll with 5 people, you're not going to get. You could get something that does not reflect what is the true consensus. But the more people you keep adding to that poll, eventually you're going to get to the point where the statistical variance is coaxed out, and you do know what the general consensus is, right? So if you have 51% in Bitcoin, that's really bad. I mean, if you're an attacker, right? A lot of people talk about double spends, but I think the important point is to assume that the person who's doing the 51% attack is someone who's heavily invested in an alternative monetary scheme. And somebody like that is not going to want to just double spend. They're going to want to make blank blocks, block transactions, right? And I do think this is a problem with Bitcoin, right? Even though Bitcoin has so much money invested in the infrastructure, there's this sort of problem with economies of scale in proof of work coins, especially with Bitcoin's proof of work system, in that if you spend, say, $10 billion on infrastructure, on a fabrication plant in order to make ASICs, then you're going to be able to produce ASICs per unit cost basis that are more than 10 times as efficient as somebody who has $1 billion to spend. So this sort of creates a situation where if Intel or one of the major fabricators who have economies of scale that no one else can match started making mining hardware, that it would be so much more powerful than what we have right now. But we're approaching a point where we're going to be on the same nanometer scale as anything that could be made in an Intel plant. If we can get past that barrier to the point where Bitcoin mining hardware is cutting edge, then we'll be in a good place, right? Because we won't have that risk anymore. So
Okay.
it's all about getting to that point for Bitcoin.
And you're saying that in Next they don't have to deal with that.
Right. What you would need to do if you wanted to start creating a fake chain is get more than 51% of the stake. Right. Stake in Next is just like hashing power.
Yeah. So basically, you would have to own over 500 million Next coins because there's only a total of 1 billion. So you would.
Not necessarily. You don't have to own it, right? And that's the problem with this idea that it's 51% attack resistant, is that it's not necessarily easy to tell, right? If they are just making blank blocks, then, okay, well, we can see that. That's obvious. We'll cut out whatever. We'll fork away from whatever accounts are just making infinite blank blocks, and we'll just cut their stake out, and the Next will only have a total of 500 million coins or something, right? The problem is with cardinalization, right? I don't think it's reasonable to expect that somebody's going to buy 51% of the network. They would drive the cost so high in the process. But what if 51% of the stake can form a cartel?
Oh, so they collude with each other.
Yeah, if they collude with each other and they start doing subtle double spends, things like that. The strong argument, and one that I think is pretty valid against that, is why would a cartel that owns that much Next want to do a couple of double spends? I mean, they would end up destroying so much more of the value of their stake in the process.
So so basically, under a proof of stake system, there is no incentive for you to try to attack the network. There's more reward in the network for you to participate and secure the network instead of trying to attack it.
That's the whole model behind PeerCoin security. With Next, it's just there as a prevention against what if we actually get a 51% cartel. With PeerCoin, they use that basic idea to secure each transaction that's proof of stake. It's a hybrid, right? So it's not for the proof of work blocks, but for each transaction in a proof of stake block. And I know it's been pretty successful there, right? So I think there's a really strong argument to make for why a cartel owning 51% would never do something like that, especially if each and every block that's made in PeerCoin, we can see that they're not doing that.
Okay, so it's more beneficial for the owners of the next coin if they have a large stake to defend the system instead of attack it then, because if they attack it, it would hurt them more, and that would be very stupid.
Again, the argument here would be that, well, what if you owned a controlling interest in some alternative monetary scheme? So imagine if you're on the board at the Federal Reserve, right? You're one of the Federal Reserve chair members or something, right? You could see how, okay, well, now it would be in your, if you could accumulate 51% of the stake in Next, well, yeah, you could start doing funny business and it'd be worth it because the capital exodus from Next might go into or like Bitcoin or something, right? You can see.
Okay.
If you're Satoshi himself and you've got that many Bitcoins, then you might benefit more from the capital exodus.
Okay. So that somebody that's attempting to destroy the entire Next network, not just make more financial gain in the Next network, but to destroy it completely would attempt such an attack. But otherwise, there's no. Okay.
But there's another important point here, and that's that Next is really different from proof of work in the sense that if you are you could essentially quietly make some sort of, suppose you're the NSA or something, right? And you've got some giant underground bunker or something, or you could build a factory down there, and you can start quietly producing SHA 256 mining equipment, and then once you have enough to overpower the rest of the network, just switch it on, and then that's the end of it, right? If you want to accumulate 51% of the stake in Next, you're going to end up pushing the price to the moon in the process, because you're going to have to go onto the markets, and you're going to have to buy Next.
Yeah, and you have to buy it all up.
Yeah, and as you buy it, the price is going to go up and up and up, whereas something like proof of work, you're not necessarily going to be driving up the price of ASICs as you're getting them. You would if you were going onto the market to buy ASICs, but not if you've got your own fab plant.
Right.
Okay, so basically, to summarize what you said about the security, the 51% attack or the 90% attack, they all sound good in theory, but in reality, there's no incentive for the people that own that much stake in Next to do that, because it would hurt themselves more than it would help them.
I'll have one thing to add. I think that these arguments are all in theory, and that's just assuming the community doesn't respond, right? I mean, they're not just people that just do whatever they do. I mean, all of us would see this happening in the process, and I think the community would take steps and actions to defend themselves.
They would fork away from the state to do funny business. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Because we would see this. I mean, this is not something that could just happen, and we would see all of a sudden, if the NSA actually did that, we would see a huge spike in hashing power. We would see all these blocks being mined. That we would see all these things, and I think the people that are the community would react. I think
what we would probably do is start using the forging process of Next for Bitcoin. If the NSA did something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right.
Okay, so.
Hey, I just want to wrap it up here. Aaron, you have a lot of articles out on the internet about Next, and then you have a lot of writing out there. Now, does someone have to contact you in order to what do you call that? Does someone have to contact you in order to use those articles, or they are welcome to use your articles and it's okay, and they just need to reference you, or what's the policy on that?
Information is nobody's property.
Okay, so you have no problems with people using your articles on their websites or their blogs or anything like that?
They can do anything other than change it and say that that's what I wrote.
Okay, so as long as they use it in your words...
or change the words and say that they changed the words.
Okay, as long as they're clear that they re-edit it and which portions they re-edit it. Okay.
As long as they don't say that I said something that I didn't say. Everything else is fine.
Okay. I would also like to add to anyone watching this that I have included at the bottom of all these videos in this interview with Aaron here, and I'm grateful that he took the time to answer a lot of our questions here. I'm including his Next address below. If you guys want to make donations for his efforts directly to him, be aware that the address below, and I will mark it very clearly that they belong to him, so you can donate directly to him, even though the videos are on my blog. And I guess if you have a Bitcoin address, you can include it down there too, and I'll post it down there too. Okay?
Sounds good.
Hey, thanks for that. Okay, Ty.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for your time today, guys, and I hope that this video was able to help you understand more about Next, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Thanks.